I can say this, if you knew what we knew in all this, you'd understand how complicated all this is. And it's difficult in 3 months to share with you just how complex it is. And maybe in a year we'll know even less of how confusing all this is. Someone was about to get up over there.
First, let me say that our family, since we've been here 11 years, have used, and probably will continue to use the hospital. From an accounting background, I have two questions, or two issues that I'd like addressed.
That's right.
One of them is because one of the strong weaknesses I see at the hospital is the billing and bookkeeping and accounting, because we've had lots of experience with it. Are you planning, is your assessment that you're talking about the same as an operational audit, which goes into each department, gives the weakness, the strengths, and suggestions, of the staff, the procedures, and is that what you're calling an assessment?
Why don't we take one at a time to let him answer all that, and then you can...
Okay, that goes all as one.
Okay.
On the operational assessment that we have entered into an agreement with the community hospital consulting, what it is, it's a tiered type assessment. We've got a tabletop assessment where we have shipped, or the hospital has shipped, mountains of information to the community hospital consulting. They will enter that into a model and create a model on that. And it goes from all the operations, the accounting, accounts receivable, billing, the whole total package, management, everything. Then once we get that back, and that's a 6 to 9 week process, and all the information has been submitted to them. So they're in the process of entering all that now. Once that gets back, then we will come back to the board, or they will come back to the board, we'll go over everything there, and then they're going to help us look at the situation where areas that we need to have concerns about, where we need to go on down in. It'd be just like if it's an onion, you peel the parts of it off, you just keep going down. And if and when that's needed, we will look at all those individual areas.
So they won't actually come into the hospital and do an objective observation of their
They will after this process.
After the initial process?
After the initial process of getting all the loading, all the information that's sent that they requested, they'll be looking at the organizational.
But will they actually come into each department?
After that, once we determine these need to be looked at, then we'll go in and they'll do on-site assessments.
Okay. And the second part is, for the reporter, and we know newspapers, Judge Maynard made the statement that the hospital came $900 under budget of the certificate of obligation. What is the plans to do with the money that was left? Is it used to pay on the debt? Is it used for remodeling? Is it used to help you with your general operating expenses, since you've had to go to the county? And I'm not going back to the past, I'm just interested to know the future.
Well, first of all, I can't tell you what the court's going to do with money, because it's court's money. The certificate of obligation was issued by the Commissioner's Court, not by the hospital group. Okay. The improvements were needed. There's no disputing that. The monies that I can tell you that legally they can only spend that money. They couldn't spend it on operation. Okay. And I hope I'm not stepping on one of the commissioner's toes when I say that, but I'm not asking them because they can't comment. But legally, when you issue debt, you can only spend that money on the purpose that you issued the debt for. The only thing they could do with the money is to spend it on improvements at Glen Medical Center facility, or they could put it back towards the debt service.
So they do have a choice of whether spending it on the facility or putting it back?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That's their only two legal choices.
And leading up to that, I know there's a lot of controversy regarding pecan plantation and it being out of the county, et cetera, et cetera. And one of the comments and strengths is that it provides a good financial support for Glen Medical Center. Are there any actual budgets or figures or public information that shows separately what they contribute to help us?
I can tell you that the Glen Rose, the operation we have at Pecan is profit making. We don't subsidize that in any manner.
Right, but there's nothing that, there's not any kind of budget or anything we can look at or figures?
Well, it's embedded, it's incorporated.
And I know it's all in
Yeah.
there, but it's no breakout. Yeah.
I hope in the future we may can do some things a little differently so we can report that differently. But I can also tell you that not only is the Pecan operation successful and profitable, but we think it has more potential. And when you look at the sheer numbers in Pecan, I think there's something 6,000 plus people that live out there don't only do that. That's the number I've heard recently.
Right, well, y'all have our prayers as you go forward.
Okay.
Y'all have our prayers as you go forward.
Well, we
Senator,
appreciate
before
it.
you sit down, I'd like to say,
Let me mention one other thing.
Okay.
I'll hasten back. The other thing I can tell you is when I say it's profitable, that doesn't include the referrals that come to the hospital here, which we so much enjoy, and that makes a big difference.
Most of it's just the actual doctors and their...
So our expenses, the doctors and the technicians
Right,
are out there.
right.
And we're hopeful. We've got another doctor employed that will go full-time in the summer. We'll have 2 full-time doctors at Pecan, and we hope we'll even, that'll bring even more revenue to us. We would be in more trouble financially were it not for the Pecan operation.
Right, I know there's a lot of controversy, and I just wanted to...
Yeah, well, and I'm glad you asked, because I'd like to get that information out.
Right.
It's not a loss leader.
And I'd like a suggestion to make about the emergency room that I don't know what, but our experience in the emergency room with the contract doctors have not always been the most reliable or pleasant. And that's sad because we've had such good experiences with the hospital and the surgical department and the nursing staff. But that is a weakness in the last year and a half that we've noticed. And for us to have that beautiful emergency room, we'd like to have, our opinion is, we'd like to have doctors competent to be a part of that.
Okay. Are you talking about bedside manner, or are you talking about medical competency?
Well, a little of both. That the fact that they're standing at our 3 experiences is that there's more standing at the desk talking, you know, only the nurses that are employed by the hospital do you get a respect from, and you can sit there and there not be anybody else in there. And now I have to say we haven't been in the last 6 months, and that's because we've avoided it. We've just waited. But in one incident, in my case, it was a misdiagnosed and treated, and I was in a lot of pain too. I was able to see my doctor 2 days later. So, but that's the only complaint I have for that.
okay, Sandra, I want you to know that everything you brought up with your questions is under discussion right now. We understand there's been some problems with billing. We think there's a lot of not understanding our billing, so we are working on that. The pecan plantation is very profitable for our hospital and our entire operation. One of our big problems, and everybody look at our published financial statements, one of our big problems in loss leaders is bad debts and charity. And I'm going to tell you one thing we do not get at Pecan Plantation is bad debts and charity. So the profits from plantation right now is supplementing some of the bad debts and charity that goes on with our hospital, and we know that's a problem. We're trying to decide where we in our community stay with. Do we tell people that come to our emergency room that don't have insurance or ability to pay? Do we tell them that we're going to see them if it's not an emergency to go on? And we haven't been doing that. So we're dealing with these issues. We appreciate your comments.
I'm a confronter, and I just feel like it needs to be laid out. So some of the questions, you know, were things that I had, but also people knew that I would stand up and ask. So again, you have our prayers, and we wish you lots of luck in the next several years. Thank you.